Hey guys, it's Will from EDM Tips, and today we are going to have a quick look at how to get your drums sounding bigger, fatter and punchier than ever before. We are going to be looking at 5 things. We will look at 1. Tuning, 2. EQ, 3. Cropping, 4. Sidechaining and 5. Bus compression. It won't take long, your drums are going to sound better. Check it out. Okay, so I have just knocked together a really quick little drum loop with a bass line, and we're going to look at how to get these drums sounding louder. So this is what we've got at the moment. A bit messy, can't push it up too loud without it clipping. Let's have a look here, just bump up the sounds and we'll see that it's going to start. And it's clipping and distorting. We obviously don't want that. So we're going to look at how to get these sounds, these drums, as loud as possible. There are a few tips we're going to be looking at. So firstly, right, the bass line I just made it in silent, and let's see, the bass note is E. So number 1, tune your drums. Because if everything is working in the same key, I know it sounds weird because drums are usually not regarded as an instrument per se, but if you can tune those to the same key as the rest of your song, it's going to gel a lot better, and therefore it's going to sound bigger and louder, and there won't be dissonance. So first we'll look at the kick. I'll just mute that. And the bass line. So that's the kick sound we've got. We're going to chuck a spectrum analyzer at the end of that just to see what the kick is peaking at. Okay, we want the kick drum to be tuned to E because that's our root note for the track. It's in E. So let's see what it's peaking at. It is currently peaking at G, so let's take it to E. We could take it down a few semitones, so we're going to do that with transpose in the sampler in Ableton. Now what happens here sometimes is that the kick might lose a bit of its punch, and then we'd start looking at layering kicks, so having a sub kick to hit that root note, and then a higher kick which is going to give it the click and the mid. But we're going to stick to this one kick for this example. So our kick is now tuned to E, same as the bass line, and now we're going to quickly tune the other drums. All the drums are tuned how we like. It's going to help it the whole track glue together, and we should be able to, it'll sound louder because there's going to be less fighting frequencies which in the mix, which is very important. Okay, next step for getting your drums sounding louder. EQ, just cut out the frequencies that the drums don't use. I'm going to do it with the kick. I'll take out the sub bass frequencies below about 30 Hertz because we don't need that information. Even on a big club system, it's not that useful, and what it does is clog up the mix because there's only a certain amount of headroom in a mix, and these lower frequencies can really fill that up. So we want to get rid of everything that's unnecessary basically, and that's going to give the rest of our track more room to breathe, and it's going to overall just sound louder. So let's quickly look at how we're going to do that. Okay, kick first, mute that. We don't need the spectrum analyzer anymore, but what we do need is a high pass EQ, and we're just going to use the standard one from Ableton, because I know that most of you will have this anyway. Doesn't matter which ones you use. So we'll do a high pass roll off, and we're just gonna, now if I roll this up, you can hear all the information is cut out, but we just want to take out the superfluous information. So we'll get rid of the So I'll just take out everything below about 30. And unless you've got really good speakers that can go really low or a big subwoofer, you're not going to hear those frequencies below 30 Hertz anyway. They'll just clog up the mix. Okay, now it's onto the snare. So we need we just need the EQ to go over in after the kick, not all of the drums. So each drum needs a different EQ. Okay, we'll go to the snare now. EQ 8. Again, just roll off until it starts affecting the power. That's too high, see? Probably don't need anything below about 150. And you can hear it doesn't actually make a difference to the sound, it's just giving us more space in the mix so we can eventually pump it louder without it clipping. Okay, so I'm just going to do that with the other drum sounds really quick. Basically, it's a high pass EQ, just cutting out all the superfluous information below until you can hear the difference. We don't want to spoil the sound. We are going to make sure that our drums end and start where we want them to. Now, this sounds a bit silly, but if you look at the drums in the sampler, for instance, you can have a kick with quite a long tail, and we don't want it kind of merging into the other kicks, so we need it to finish before the other one starts. And we do this by going into the sampler. First I just put voices to 1 just to make sure that you can never have one more than playing at once. And then I basically take release down to 0 and then just use the sustain and draw out the length of the sound that I want. So you can hear that that's quite a long kick sound. And at the moment, let's take it right down. Right. So that's what it sounds like with no release. If you've got full release, it's playing the full kick sound. So I take it to about halfway in between the first kick and the second one sounding, and you can tweak the release a little bit so it doesn't cut off too. You can hear there's a click there because it's cutting off very abruptly. So we'll just make sure that the click is gone by slowly taking up the release. Okay, and there we have it. So that's what we do with the snare as well. And basically, all the drum sounds, just being really careful to tweak them using the sustain and release to make sure that they do not play for longer than we want them to. And that again gives more space in the mix, which leads to louder drums. You would have heard of this, probably. Sidechaining. It's been used in dance music for years now. You know, Eric Prydz, Cool on Me, that pumping sound. But if we use it on our bass line, we can basically duck that out of the way of the kick, which lets the kick really breathe and give it more power. I'll show you what I mean. This is the bass line. Now I'm going to put a normal compressor on it, open that bit up, press sidechain, and I've got a sidechain trigger channel here, which is basically a sound that I've made silent, just playing the same pattern as the kick. It's just a rim shot. It doesn't matter what the sound is really, it just needs to be a short, sharp drum sound. And I have taken that, basically it only goes to the sends, so it doesn't go to the master audio, so you can never hear that sidechain channel. So we're going to send it to the compressor, and we won't hear it, but it will duck that signal. So I'll show you what I mean. Take the threshold down and the attack. So you see you have that pumping effect now. This is without it on. But what that does is allow the kick to really show up through that mix. I'll show you what I mean. Here we go. This is without the compressor. Quite nice, but we need to give it a little more space. And that again means we can push the whole volume up without the signal clipping, because basically the bass stops playing whilst the kick's playing. So we'll put everything back in. We've basically cut out the frequencies that are interfering. We've tightened all the sounds up, and we can do that with the loop as well. Now this is an important one. So we've got this loop playing. Now a lot of those sounds aren't needed. For instance, let's solo the loop. So you've got these small little sounds at the beginning where the kick will be playing, and then the snare sound where we've already programmed our snare in. Now all of that's blocking up the mix, meaning we can't push it higher. So we're just going to take out those actual little drum sounds which aren't important to the mix. Now you won't hear the difference to the actual rhythm, which is important. That's what we want, right? But again, it's just taking out that extra information, the extra audio information that we don't need. Okay, so that's basically how you prepare your drums, the programming stage. The next tip for how to get them louder is compression. Now what you can do is you can actually group all your drums together. So we've got our drum channel and our loop channel. I'm just going to put that in a group, and then we can apply compression to that whole group. Now you don't want to compress this too much because you will kill the transients in the drums. So something like the glue compressor in Ableton, which mimics or models a classic SSL compressor, is a nice way just to make it a little bit louder. I'll show you what I mean. So we'll have and when it's compressed, we can actually pump up the volume a bit to about well, there it's being reduced by about 3.5 decibels. So we're going to up it 3.5 decibels so it's comparable. So this is with the compression, and this is without. It's a very subtle difference, but it just gives it a bit more energy with the compression. I'll probably say this about 4 would be a fairer comparison. So this is with the compression, and this is without. There's just a slight difference in energy, and that can really glue the drums together. So there you have it, guys. This is the finished result with the other elements stuck in, playing in the background. For more tips, tricks and tutorials on creating electronic dance music, head over to edmtips.com. Leave me a comment in the video or drop me an email at will@edmtips.com, and hope to see you soon. Cheers. Bye.